There is only one main verb in the Hebrew language to express the idea of loving, and that verb is ahav. Instead, there are 4 different verbs to express the idea of loving in ancient Greek. The first one is Eran, which means the passionate love. The second one is Stergein, which indicates the affectionate love. The third one is Philein, which is love in the broadest sense of the word. And finally, we have Agapan, which indicates the quality of love required by God from us in the Bible. So let us start with the first verb, ἐρᾶν. ἐρᾶν tinos, to be in love with someone, is the passionate love. That verb is not attested in the New Testament, but it is indeed attested a few times in the Old Testament. And there it was first applied to the love for women. Thus, we can read in the book of Esther, chapter 2, verse 17 in Hebrew, ויאהב המלך את אסתר מכל הנשים. In Greek, כירסתי הוא בזילאוס אסתר. The king loved Esther passionately, more than all the other women. Of all the virgins, she won his favor and devotion, so that he set the royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. This same passionate love is applied to wisdom in the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 6. There we have an incredible text. When I was a son with my father, tender, and my mother's favorite, he taught me and said to me, get wisdom, get insight. In Hebrew, kne chokhmah. Kne vina. Do not forsake her, and she will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you. In Hebrew, ehaveha vetitztrecha. Eras vetiautes in Greek, kaitereseise. According to the Bible, we ought to be passionately in love with wisdom, and wisdom will guard us. Let us go to the second verb, which is stergein. Stergein is a love full of affection towards those who are very close to us, especially said of parents for the children, of children for the parents. That verb appears only once in the Greek version of the Old Testament, and it appears there in the book of Ben Sira, a book which was first written in Hebrew and then translated into Greek. That book is canonical in all the apostolic churches. That means the Catholic, the Orthodox, the Armenian, the Coptic, the Syriac, and the Assyrian churches. The word appears in a passage for which we only have the Greek text, but we may assume that the original Hebrew was the verb ahav. It appears in the book of Ben Sira, chapter 27, verse 17. This is the Greek text. Sterkson philon kai pistotheti metautu. Cherish your friend, keep faith with him. But if you betray his secrets, do not go after him. For as one might kill another, you have killed your neighbor's friendship. Like a bird released from your hand, you have let your friend go, and cannot recapture him. This affectionate love for our closest relatives and friends is what the book of Ben Sira invites us to have. Then the third verb is philein. Philein is an extremely common verb throughout the Greek Bible. The Greek Bible is the Septuagint, which is a translation of the Old Testament, and the New Testament. So the verb philein is first applied in the New Testament to what a person likes to do. For instance, in Matthew chapter 6, verse 5, "And whenever you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray." They love to stand and pray. Philousin hestotes proseuchestai. They love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners so that they may be seen by others. You see how there you have the verb philein used with an infinitive, to love to do something. Then, for instance, in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 20, verse 46, we can read, "Beware of the scribes who like to walk along in long robes and love to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces. Philunton aspasmus entais agorais." So here we have the verb philo, which is followed not by the name of a person, but rather by a noun that relates to an object. They love the salutations in the marketplaces, and they love to have the best seats in the synagogues, kai protokathedrias entais synagogais, and places of honor at banquets, kai protoklisias entois depnois. Then the word philein is also applied in the New Testament to love for friends. The Gospel of John shows us the friendship of Jesus for Lazarus. Jesus would stay at the house of Lazarus whenever he was coming from Jericho to Jerusalem, as Bethany was really very close to Jerusalem. It was the last station before arriving to Jerusalem. And Lazarus, the brother of Mary and Martha, suddenly fell ill. In John chapter 11, verse 3, we can read, "So the sisters sent a message to Jesus, 'Lord, behold, he whom you love is ill.'" In Greek, "ide hon phileis asthenei." And then in John 11, verse 36, we can read, "He said, 'Where have you led him?' They said to him, 'Lord, come and see.' Jesus began to weep. So the Judeans said, 'See how he loved him. Ide pos e philei auton.'" We can mark in the Gospel of John, during the Last Supper and after the resurrection, a progressive closeness in the words that Jesus applies to his apostles. When he first gives them his new commandment, the commandment of love, he says, John 13, verse 35, "I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another." And here we have the verb Agapan. "By this, everyone will know that you are my close disciples. Emoi mathetai este." Disciples, literally, who are mine, those who really follow me. Sometimes this verse, emoi mathetai este, is just translated as, "By this people will know that you are my disciples, my own disciples, if you have love, ἀγάπην, for one another." Later on, in the parable of the vine and the branches, Jesus says in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 8, the following: My Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit and become my close disciples. So I have translated here my close disciples and not just my disciples, as it is said usually, because in the Greek we don't have geneste mathetai mu, but we have geneste emoi mathetai. There is a double emphasis. First, instead of saying geneste mathetai mu, we have emoi mathetai. So we have a change in word order. But then, with an emphasis in the emoi. But then we have the dative, emoi, and not mu, which is also another emphasis. So the text says really, my Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit and become my close disciples, and not only my disciples. Shortly afterwards, Jesus mentions again the new commandment, and he calls the disciples friends. This is in John 15, verses 12 to 15. The text reads as follows: This is my commandment, that you love one another, as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer. In Greek, uketi lego humas doulos, because the servant doesn't know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, humas de eireka philus, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. Finally, after the resurrection, Jesus tells Mary Magdalene, this is John chapter 20, verse 17. Go to my brothers, poreude prostus adelphus mu. It's not anymore to my friends, but to my brothers. And say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God. So we have here a gradation, a scale. He calls them first disciples, then close disciples, then friends, then brothers in the end. Because Jesus reveals to them that they are children of the Father and thus brothers of Jesus. We have seen that the Hebrew verb Ahab, can be passionate, a passionate love, when referring to the woman one loves, as in the book of Esther, or referring to love for God, as in the book of Proverbs. It can be affectionate love, like the love for a friend, in Ben Sira. It can be a tender love, like the love of Jesus for Lazarus. But the love that God asks from everyone in the Hebrew Bible and in the New Testament is, above all, ἀγαπᾶν.